Good morning, everybody. I am Tats. I'm here with Rob, and here comes Donald. So it is a day away from opening day, and the Yankee fans got an early Christmas gift, and Anthony Volpe was given the nod for the opening day roster. And this is something that we were very curious about what they were going to do. We were very hopeful that they were going to make the right decision. And for once, and we don't get to say this too often, Brian Cashman made the right decision. So how are we feeling now that Volpe has been announced going into tomorrow's start of the season?
Feel happy. I feel happy for him. He deserved it. He killed it. Absolutely killed it. He did everything they asked him to do and more. If you were to ask me personally, going into spring training, do I think he's making the roster? I would have said no shot. But he was outstanding. Yeah. Hit the ball, hit for power, showed the speed. His defense was phenomenal. He looks like a natural out there. And he did everything that he needed to do to make the squad. And he's on the squad, rightfully so. It's much deserved. He just got a congratulatory, that's not a word, a congratulations tweet from Jeter like 5 minutes ago. So he's got the captain's nod of approval, and I'm ready to see him play, man. I can't wait. I'm kind of hoping he changes his number to 24 for selfish reasons, because I got a Sanchez jersey with no name and I don't have anyone to wear it for. So if he can change that number, that'd be great. But I would love to see that 77 out there. Whatever number he chooses, I can't wait to watch him play. I'm so happy for the kid, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I know, Donald, I know you're very skeptical always about what Cashman's going to do and what his motivations are. When he did make the call, how high did you jump in your room?
I'm very, very happy. This is a great day. Great news. This is our star prospect, and he absolutely killed it, as Rob said. I thought he was awesome all spring. He's super fast, and he's been fine out in the field, and he's hitting the cover off the ball. So it was the only logical move, and I think that we did everything right here. I think this is absolutely the right call. And I like that the organization was honest with us. They did say that it was going to be a competition. And and he won the competition. So, you know what? I have absolutely no issue with that. And it makes all the sense in the world. I'm very excited to see him. You could make the argument he could be leading off, but I think it's going to be DJ LeMahieu. But you're gonna see Volpe being a very prominent player, and I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I'm saying it now. I think he's got everything, all the potential. I like his temperament. He's very cool and collected. But I also love the video of how he got introduced. Yeah. Aaron Boone giving him a hug, welcome to New York. That's every kid's dream right there. That's every Yankee fan's dream. That's every baseball fan's dream, to sit there and being told by your team's manager that you're going to the bigs. So I'm super excited for him and his family. He deserves it. He's a great kid, great player, and he's going to be the future shortstop from now on in the New York Yankees. Beautiful.
Yep. I just want to give some quick shout outs to the group. Mazda, welcome. Brad, Anthony Medina, welcome to the chat. And it's one of these situations, when you see the video come out, you didn't really need the headline to know what the announcement was going to be, because they weren't going to do that to tell him he was going back down. So you already know. And it's kind of, are those videos kind of overplayed at this point? It's been there, done that. Try something else.
You're finding stuff to complain about now, Tat. I'm supposed to be happy.
I am happy. I just wanted to throw that out there. I just thought it's becoming lame to do these, the videos. But I know you want to play it off of social media. You want to do something exciting to announce it to the fans. I get that. I'm just, a little creativity wouldn't hurt once in a while. So, but no, I'm really excited about about him getting the call on the opening. That is, it was in the competition. And what he did was he didn't leave anybody even close to him. There was a debate between Volpe and Peraza, and unfortunately Peraza went down, but I don't think it's going to be for long term. And yet, no, I did not have any downers today. Actually, I'm on my third cup of coffee.
He's Debbie Downer. Be a Debbie Downer with that reaction to the video, sure. Go on.
That's my opinion on it. That's all. It's not a big deal. I just had to throw that out there. But what's going on in LA? And I just think that everyone's like, oh, you need to, they think he's going to be that peripheral leadoff hitter. But I think that the fact that they're talking about starting him lower down in the order, I think is going to benefit him more than if they gave him, the leadoff spot for opening day. Take that pressure off the kid. He's already shown that the pressure's not going to hurt him at all. He's risen to every challenge. Even with the last spring training game, he already knows that he's going to be making the team, and he still goes out there and balls his ass off, and still gave 100%. Like there was no off day because he already accomplished what he wanted to. And I think that shows a lot about his attitude towards the game. And when he has that uniform on, he's going to represent it to the best of his ability.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about Judge in 2017, he was batting 8th, I think, to start the season. And then he was bumped up to 7th, and then eventually he was batting 2nd the rest of the way. So I don't think it's going to be a long time that he's in the 9 hole. But right now, your leadoff hitter is DJ LeMahieu, and it's kind of a perfect way to round out the order. You get Volpe at the bottom, and then ideally you have Volpe, LeMahieu leading into Judge. It's kind of technically, we always talk about the 9 spot being that second leadoff spot in a way. So I have no problem with it. Would I like for him to be in the leadoff spot? Yeah. But I think down the line, maybe at some point, maybe mid-season, we could see it. If they try to tinker with the lineup a little bit, there's always going to be injuries. There's always going to be lineup adjustments, especially with the Yankees. They never stick to one lineup. So to start him off in the 9 spot's fine. Eventually he'll be up in that leadoff spot because ideally, if he is going to follow a similar path to a shortstop before him, he'll be at the top of the order. He's got the skill set for a top of the order guy. He's not a bottom of the order hitter. It's just that right now you're not going to move Judge from the 2 spot, and DJ is your leadoff hitter. But DJ, you can put him anywhere that's not cleanup, and he'll be fine. So at some point, he'll be up in the top of the order.
Yeah, there's no need to add to the amount of pressure that he's going to have. There's no point to it. And I do like, because once you get through the first turn through the order, he is going to be, it's almost like he's going to be the leadoff guy with DJ and Judge behind him. So it does make sense. Especially more so in the beginning, maybe the first 2-3 series of the season. Let him get his feet wet. Let him absorb everything because they're starting the season at home. So there's going to be a lot of hype at the stadium on Thursday for him to have his name announced. The bleacher creatures and the roll call is going to be insane. I can't wait to hear that. So Donald, your thoughts on the lineup? You think it's the right move?
What do I think is the right move?
Having him batting in the bottom of the order to start the season?
Well, it could be the second leadoff hitter. I can understand. Yeah. Remember though, Aaron Boone doesn't exactly stick to the same lineup. I mean, you're going to see him all over the order, just like everyone. That's just how the Yankees like to do it. So I wouldn't look too deeply into where he's batting. He's going to be a factor no matter where he bats. But I think the more pertinent conversation is obviously Peraza. I think, to be fair, I think the Yankees actually did the right thing here, right? Hear me out. I'm a big Peraza fan, but there's a glut of infielders. You're not gonna have a situation where it's fair to him that he's just gonna sit on the bench, backing up Volpe, backing up Torres. That's not fair to him. It's better having him get regular at bats, regular reps in AAA, and as soon as there's a trade, he can be your starting infielder. Because I want the future to be Peraza, and I want the future to be Volpe. second base shortstop combo. I think Perez is a much smoother shortstop than Volpe, but I think they're going to go all in on Volpe being shortstop, and that's absolutely fine. I think Perez will be fine at second base, but until they make a trade, I think it's the right move. Um, I don't think this is going to be necessarily long term. I think that you're going to see a trade done fairly soon in the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if you see IKF or Torres traded for a fourth or fifth starter at minimum and some prospects, and then once that trade's gone through, then you bring Peraza up, and he's not missed a beat really. He'll be ready to rock and roll. I absolutely love Peraza. Don't get me wrong. It's just I think that it's fair for his development that he isn't just sitting as a backup, because that's not fair to him, because he's far too good for that. Now I can obviously blame Cashman for the fact he's done nothing to this point, where he easily could have made the trade far earlier than this, but I don't want to just keep going on about the past. This is the future. So from the here on out, make sure a trade gets done, and then you can call him up and be a starter. Until then, I think he's fine in AAA, and he'll be ready to rock and roll. He's got options. I think he'll be okay. But it's the right call. To be honest, Volpe did outplay him considerably in spring, so it was an open competition. Volpe outplayed him. It was the right move as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're spot on. You actually took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say basically the same exact thing. Donaldson's not going anywhere because they tried to move him. Nobody wants him, and you're not cutting him for financial reasons because it's going to cost you $50 million to not play for you, as opposed to like 33. That's a $17 million difference. It just makes financial sense to wait next year to get rid of him, unless you can trade him, which you're not doing. Torres isn't going anywhere because that pitcher that everybody wants is not available. Everyone's like, okay, Corbin Burns. It's going to take a lot to get Corbin Burns, a lot more than Gleyber Torres. You're not getting him. And they're not going to make a panic trade for a number 5 starter right now that involves Gleyber Torres because they can probably survive a month and a half with Brito as a number 5 until they get Rodon back. So they're not going to do that. And you obviously have Volpe. You're not moving him from shortstop to play Peraza. You're not switching Peraza to third base. Some people in the chat want to keep doing that. So he's blocked. You're not putting him anywhere right now. So the right move was to send him down. And he was outplayed. There's no argument about that. Volpe was the better player. And I think the more you watch the spring, it was never going to be both. It was always going to be one or the other. So the most likely scenario that we all thought would probably happen was Peraza made the team, Volpe got to AAA, and we wouldn't have really complained because if Volpe didn't have a great spring, it's like, okay, well, he gets to play a little bit more, gets his at-bats, and then he comes up eventually. Or scenario 2 was what we got. Volpe outplayed Peraza. Peraza goes to AAA. He gets to play every day at second base, and he's your future at second base. The other scenario was they both just played outstanding.
Yeah.
And you had to make something happen. You had to make a move, but that didn't happen. Peraza didn't have a great spring. He was okay with the bat. He was good with the glove, but his bat wasn't really there. So they're going to give him a little more time. He'll play second base. He'll play shortstop. Ideally, he's going to stick at second because Volpe's your shortstop now, and I don't want to see him move from that position. But he'll be here sooner than later. Like Donald said, they're going to make a trade where somebody's going to get hurt. It's bound to happen. Peraza will be back. And this time, they need to do it right. When they get him up, he needs to stay there. He needs to play every day. So it made no sense to have him on the roster as your 5th infielder, backing up Torres and backing up Donaldson and backing up DJ and Volpe. It made no sense, and it wouldn't help him at all.
No, and I think you're going to see a situation like last opening day where Torres did not start the game. That could be a situation because they'll put, LeMahieu at second and, have Volpe at short. This way, at least you get that vet, you get that, that elite glove on the second base side. Not that Torres is not elite, but DJ's just he's more comfortable in that range than Torres would be. So I think having LeMahieu with Volpe up the middle, I think is going to be an advantage for the defensive alignment. It doesn't matter where they throw the ball, if it's always going to catch it. So I have no issues with, I think the first base defense is fine. We all know that Donaldson, as much as we can't stand him at the plate, he plays the infield very well. His defense was not what we complained about.
And to be
So
fair, he's had a good
I think
spring.
it's going to leave Torres on the bench again tomorrow.
To be fair, Donaldson, he's had a good spring. He's had a couple of home runs. He looks a little better. Don't want to read too much into it, but it certainly looks like he's looking a little bit better.
Hope. It's prayed any baseball.
It's all you can do is hope. Like Rob, like you were saying, how much worse could it get?
Yeah, he was terrible. He was terrible last year. So I mean, like I've been saying for the past week, just give me home runs, man. Give me 22 to 25. He'll have the run production. Give me 75, 80 RBIs. I'll deal with you for one more year, and then we'll kick him to the curb where he belongs next season. $8 million not to play for you, and the nightmare will be over. But it's not happening this year. We have to just accept that. And you're not sitting $25 million on the bench, so he's going to get playing time, whether it's at third base or at DH. He's going to play, and we just have to hope that he plays better. I don't want to ever be that fan that roots for a player to fail. I
don't think any of us are doing that.
Well, there are people out. I'm not saying us. I'm saying there are people out there that just want to see him fail to be like, see, I told you, Cashman. But it's just let's be proven wrong. Prove me wrong, Josh Donaldson. Shut me up for a year. And then when you're gone, I'll celebrate. Because we will celebrate when he's cut from this team because I can't stand the guy. But I do want to see him play better because guess what? It helps us win. So it's like, as a fan, I have to root for you. That's just how it is.
And I heard, on Sports Talk and even on the radio broadcast with John and Susan, they were saying about the adjustment, the adjustments in his swing with Donaldson, that, and John had broken it down where, everybody's going, well, why couldn't you do this last year? Players are very stubborn. They have their routines. This is what they work on. Not every player has the mentality to just change everything up mid-season. So we may be seeing a different Donaldson at the plate this year, the different stance that he's working on. He didn't look flat at the plate. He wasn't tearing the cover off the ball, though he had a few really good, huge home runs. But the offseason should just readjust his whole batting attack.
Yeah, I mean, look, if he can just get that approach better, right? That's all we ask for. Is just try something different. I'm hearing myself talking. That's fun. I'm hearing myself. Donald, you need to fix that. I don't think.
Are we good? Not yet. All right. It's the fun of being live. We good? All right.
We're not good. We're not good. People hearing your neck go.
All right. Let's what? I don't want to do that. Let's see if we can mute. Is that any better for everybody?
That's what I'm saying. The echo.
We just got to unmute. We got to mute. You got to work on the muting here. Oh boy! But I don't want to mute Donald. All the time. I want to hear his voice.
Can't hear Donald. We can't hear Donald. We can't hear ourselves.
That beautiful Scottish accent. Being denied. All right, I'm gonna mute you for that. There he goes. All right, again,
I was trying to say, the echo was coming from there. We couldn't hear him.
I knew where it was coming from, but we just couldn't. Yeah, I think he had two devices open and one wasn't closing. So, no, what the hell were we even talking about?
Something with Donaldson.
The adjustment to Donaldson's stance.
Right.
Yeah, I do think that I do expect a better season. I really do. I would be completely shocked if he put up the same or worse numbers.
I mean, if you put up worse numbers, then they got to cut him and just eat the money. Because if he's worse than last year, then yeah, we're gonna have a problem. But I don't think he can be worse because he was like flat out terrible. So,
Donald, what do you think about the stance? Do you think that's gonna make a better, an impact at all?
With Josh Donaldson?
Yeah.
It looks like his leg kick is a little lower, just a little smaller, and he seems to be generating a little bit more power. He might be catching up to mid-level fastballs because he wasn't catching up to any fastballs last year, so might be able to catch up to moderate fastballs. And he might increase his home run ratio by maybe up to 20, 22 home runs this year, something like that. So I do think the stance will improve him slightly. You're not gonna get anything close to the Donaldson of his career, but I do expect him to be slightly better.
I mean, I think with him, because I don't think he's going to play all the time at third base. Because I think he's going to be in that shuffle where they put DJ at third. You might even see Cabrera at third. Yeah, because you know who is going to get some playing at left field and center. So they're going to need. It's going to be it's going to be a fluid lineup throughout until things work themselves out. Because like Rob said, you don't know what trades are going to happen. Not that we ever want anybody to get hurt. You don't know what injuries are going to happen. Where everything's just going to fall into place, and everything will line itself out. But I think the adjustment that he was able to make to his swing is to adjust to his age and not having the speed behind it. I think he had no choice. If he wanted to redeem himself, he had to make a change, and he did that.
Well, yeah, I mean, his issue last year was he couldn't hit a fastball to save his life. So if he can just catch up to the fastball a little bit more, he's going to hit more home runs, and his batting average will go up. I don't really care about his batting average. Just give me the home runs, give me an on base over 300, and we'll see. We'll see it. We won't see it next year. That's it. He's gone after this season. There's no scenario where they bring him back. They're going to take his option for another $25 million. It's not happening. So we just need one more year, hopefully a better year. And I don't want to keep talking about Josh Donaldson too much, but the fact is he's not going anywhere. He's not getting traded. He's not getting traded to the Nationals. So we just have to live with it.
Yep. Now, the other thing I wanted to get to is the final outings from some of the pitchers fighting for a spot. We had that amazing outing the other day from Brito. Did he prove enough? I think what was it, 15 and 16 retired straight, and against the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays didn't have their single A lineup in there either. But did he prove enough where you're comfortable with him if they give him that fifth spot?
Yeah, why not, right? I mean, that was my guy going into the spring. I remember Donald asked if there was anyone that I thought could make the team or that would impress me. I said Johnny Brito was my first choice. I want to see him pitch. I'm excited for him. He's got good stuff. And again, it's going to be maybe a month and a half max that we have to survive with him. And if he pitches well, that's a good problem because we need pitching depth. And if he can prove to be a good pitcher at the major league level, then we're going to have some conversations. Okay, does Severino even come back to the rotation? He will, but we don't know when he's coming back because the guy gets hurt every 2 seconds. So if Brito can pitch well, we got ourselves a future number 4, number 5 starter down the line. That's fine. He's got great stuff. I'm excited to see him pitch. I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised the way he got it because 3/5 of our rotation is hurt, but hey, now's an opportunity to make some noise, and so far so good.
What's impressed you with Brito, just the overall?
His numbers are good. I still expect Cashman to make a deal though for another starter. I can't see us going too long with just disparate without too much depth behind them. So I do expect a minor trade to be made within the next few weeks. I think it could be sooner, possibly, because we're kind of up against it with injuries. Severino getting hurt, Montas is done. Rodon hopefully be back by what maybe 1st of June, end of May, something like that. But no, Burrito's done fine, man. To be honest, I think Herman and Brito and Schmidt will do absolutely fine when called upon. I'm not overly concerned about it.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see Severino out for a significant time. I think they shut it down quick enough where same thing with Rodon. It's gonna they're gonna take another look at it after the first round through the rotation. And Boone was saying on the radio broadcast, he joined, he went into the booth with John and Susan, that you're really not going to need your full 5-starter arsenal till maybe the 12th game of the year. So you do have that wiggle room with off days and just with the travel, where it actually gives the Yankees an advantage because they don't have to put too much onto the starting pitching. They can kind of see where everybody's at as they go for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, it always goes that way, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll see teams go 4-man rotation because there's so many off days. So, I mean, if there was ever a time that you never want injuries, but if there was ever a time for guys to be hurt, it's now, I guess. Rodon just recently threw a bullpen session, and they said after he throws his first bullpen session, you're looking at maybe a month to get him ramped up and back throwing and getting into his regular routine. So we will probably see him back by the time May starts, which is better than nothing. I don't like the fact that we're missing him for a full month, but if we can get him back, like I said, I think we can survive with Brito, Schmidt, and hopefully Herman pitches the way he did last year, because then we'll be okay. I think we're going to survive it, but we can definitely use more depth. Now, who can we potentially move to get that depth? I don't know. One of your infielders, IKF, maybe IKF and Florial, but Florial's making the team because Ortega's gone and they sent Calhoun down. I don't get that move, but they do have to get some depth. It's not going to be the move that people want. Like everyone wants to go get. The Brewers don't want to pay Corbin Burns. Go get him. And we're not getting him. And some people might throw out Nola's name because him and the Phillies are not talking extension anymore. That ain't happening. We're not getting a number 1 starter to be our number 5 when everyone's healthy. So if we do make a trade, it's going to be some random name that nobody really knows. Or they've even talked about doing bullpen days, which I hate, but we have a lot of arms that we've sent down recently that could fill that role. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that as well. But they're not going to make a panic trade for a top of the rotation guy. If anything, it's going to be a 4 or 5, and he'll just fill a start here or there in the next month.
You'll see them go into like a mid-level starter, just somebody, on the final year of their deal, just to eat some innings until they all get healthy. So that's I don't think you're gonna get not at this point. Maybe closer to the trade deadline, looking at where everybody is in the standings, not just us. You may see them make a push for a Burns. So I think that's way down the line. Before they discuss anything with Milwaukee. So I just think they're gonna roll with what they have right now. I don't think they're gonna make a panic move. I don't think they need to make a panic move. It's not August. It's not September. You don't need to hit the panic button yet.
But like Donald says, you should still try to get some depth and not doing something insane like a certain somebody's proposing in the chat right now. But they're not going to go out and trade their. No, I'm not doing this today. I'm not doing it today. I'm not doing it today. Donald, you say something. I don't know. I'm not doing this with him today.
No trades today. I'm not talking trades today, but I would trade Gleyber Torres or IKF, and free up this glut in the infield. But as of right now, I think it's time to be positive. What do you think about spring so far? Because obviously we've kind of got an iffy record. Lost more games than we've won. We've been shut out a couple of times, like yesterday. Are you reading too much into it, considering it's like pretty much our A lineup we're getting shut out with? We're not really doing too great offensively. What are your thoughts?
Well, I usually try not to read too much into spring training, especially with the seasoned guys. Okay. Because it might be like a situation with Judge. What are we always complaining about? The breaking ball down and away, he was always swinging at because of his height, they were calling it a strike anyway. And we saw last year he stopped really swinging at that pitch. So you might have a seasoned player that's going to, right, unless I see it coming right down the pipe, I'm not going to swing at it and just kind of get my eye adjusted to where this pitcher is, hitting the zone. So I don't play too much into it. There were just some players that like obviously we were keeping an eye on Volpe. We wanted to see his development. Peraza. We wanted to see any adjustments from Donaldson. We wanted to see adjustments from Hicks. How is Rizzo looking without the shift? Like those are things I watch for in spring training, not the overall numbers for the team.
Record-wise, I don't really look at the record for spring. I couldn't care less, but offensively, yeah, because we are rolling back basically the exact same team from last year. So the fact that same offense that struggled in the playoffs is doing it again in the spring, it's going to raise some eyebrows, but we did see last year after a slow start, they started to pick it up in April. And I think with having some energy in there like Volpe, it's going to change some things. And we got to hope that our main guys do their jobs. And that's Aaron Judge, that's Rizzo, that's Stanton. That's going to end up being Volpe, DJ as well. We have some hitters. And I think if they just stick to an actual lineup and don't change the order necessarily so much, like I don't want to see Hicks playing for the sake of playing. Cabrera's been outstanding this spring. He needs to be playing as much as possible. He's been fantastic. And not a lot of people are talking about how good his spring was because Volpe's been the talk of the town, but Cabrera has been phenomenal. And they've played him everywhere but catcher and pitcher, basically. So the kid has earned his spot. And if you just have like a very fluid lineup, stick with the main guys. Don't like what we saw last year after the first week or 13 games. They stuck with the lineup and it worked. We can't be jumbling around too much. There's going to be guys changing positions just to get playing time, like Torres and DJ and Donaldson. But you need to see Cabrera out there as much as possible. Judge, of course, Volpe. And I don't really care about the catcher because we're not getting offense from there anyway. But I think at some point these guys are going to hit. We do it every year. They get a slow point and they start hitting again. It's just a little alarming that the same lineup that we struggled with last year is doing it again in the spring, but that can change in a blink. I don't know if they have that switch they can flip on for the regular season because they don't switch it on for the playoffs. So we'll see. We'll see. But I mean,
my only issue with the roster is Abreu making it on the roster. I think he's off.
For Rob's sanity, I was trying not to bring him up.
How did they put him on the team again? Oh, look, he's had a terrible spring.
Have you guys got the full roster?
I don't know if they've announced the full roster yet because
they haven't.
Okay.
There's been some rumblings. No, there's still some rumblings that a trade could happen. Maybe to add a bullpen arm because I don't think the final bullpen spot's been announced yet. Because Hamilton got sent down, so did Greg Weissert. And Matt Crook was sent down. Yeah.
Well, Marinaccio and Darrow, they already were told that they made the roster. So at least we know we have them in the bullpen.
And Abreu.
I don't understand this Abreu obsession. Like, this guy is legitimately a terrible pitcher.
And it came out a little before the Volpe news broke. So it could have been one of those, right? They announced Abreu, and then the fan outrage, and then it's like, oh shit, we got to pivot. All right, Volpe's making the team. Everybody relax.
I don't know if Albert Abreu has like the same pictures that Aaron Hicks does of the Yankees front office, because that's the only reason I can think that they brought him back. He pitched well for a 2-week span last year. Then they kept using him. They stuck him in their bullpen until he got hurt. I don't know what the obsession is. Like, he throws a sinker. So does like every other pitcher in baseball now. Yeah. And we know how much Matt Blake likes hard-throwing sinkers, but you're telling me Ryan Weber couldn't have that bullpen spot? You tell me Weissert couldn't make the team out of the spring? Matt Crook just to have another lefty?
I was going to say, TC Steele just brought up Crook.
Yeah. I don't get it. What is he doing that's so, like, he hasn't had a good spring? I know Weissert wasn't great, but Abreu
he hasn't been good in general.
Right. Since going back to, like, maybe – when did we get him back last year? Was it June or July? But after, like, his first 3 weeks back with the team, he started to struggle, and from that point, he's just been bad. And I want him to pitch well, but at some point, it's not like he's making so much money that you can't just cut him loose. You know, because the other two teams that had him after Texas last year did the same thing, or the other team. He went to Texas and the Royals, and they both cut him loose. And they have bullpens worse than we do. But it's like we can't get rid of him. I don't know. And it all points back to that ego we talk about with Cashman. It's like, I want to prove to you that I traded him, got my starting catcher who's an all-star, and I got this guy back. But get rid of him. He's not pitching well. And I guess if there's some light at the end of the tunnel is when Caneley's back and Trevino's back. Abreu's probably gone anyway. So I guess they just got to hope he pitches well for a month. But I can't think of any other reason why he'd make the team, because he just didn't have a good spring.
There's so much more value in that bullpen. There's how Abreu even I can't make sense of it. And especially when you have guys like Crook, and Weissert, and everybody, and pretty much everybody else. So I just don't see why they just can't cut this kid. He's not gonna work. I don't. There's been nothing that says he's figured it out, and we could forget about all his past, mistakes. It's not happening.
Nikki just coming in with the fire in the chat. Thank you, Nikki. I don't know what he's doing. He's a very diehard fan. We'll say that he's very passionate about certain things. We love the conversation, just not the repetitive ones, because he makes me want to slam my head into the wall a few times. But we do like the conversation, and he does keep the chat rolling, because every time he pops in, Brad is ready to attack
Brad Mazza, everybody.
This ally guy, is he just trolling you guys? Oh, that's hilarious.
But no, Nikki did have a comment way back up earlier in the chat before it got overtook by the eventual argument. He mentioned that he's happy about Volpe, and then I believe he said he's going to be on his fantasy team. So we do appreciate that. And I wish the Mets would do the same with their young kids. I know there was a lot of conversation about some of their young guys not making the squad. I think
Beatty when it was sent down. I think Alvarez too. Yeah, there were a few guys that played their asses off that because of contracts holding up positions, they have to wait. I don't think there's hold up on players or playing contracts over talent. It's so bad for baseball. It really is. And one of the things we had talked about the last few years is the meritocracy of it. If you're playing well, you get your best player gets the spot. We finally saw that with Volpe, and I hope that this is just a sign of things to come, where maybe the Yankees and the front office, maybe Cashman had, what's the new GMs they hired? The names just slipped my fucking head. But maybe Sabian, was in his ear going, look, you got to make this move. You got to give this kid the nod. Enough's enough.
Well, I think Boone had a big part of that as well, because Michael Kay mentioned it, and Judge, yeah, but Aaron Boone is not getting enough credit because he's been very, very on board with Volpe. And that's what Michael Kay – and if there's anyone who has an inside track to what the Yankees are doing, it's Michael Kay. So if he says something, I mean, he's probably got pretty good intel on that. And he said that Boone wanted Volpe, and he's been very high on Anthony Volpe. So I think Boone deserves some credit here. And maybe, like we've been talking about, is if the manager has a suggestion, maybe now, because there's 2 other GMs to go along with our GM, they're going to say, listen to your manager, maybe maybe give it a shot. But I'm glad that we're doing something right. I don't think this was a Cashman thing. I think Boone was really the one who pushed it and said, we got to have this kid up here, because you couldn't have him be on the AAA roster with Peraza. And if they would have went into the season and said IKF's the shortstop, it would have been bad. No one would have been excited, and there would have been, people would have went to the stadium, but like, it tells me that Boone does know what he's talking about. Boone does have a baseball mind. We know this. He comes from a baseball family. And maybe, just maybe, this is the year, finally, that kind of just let him manage and Cashman gets his grubby little hands out of it. And I'm hoping that's what Sabian and Minaya are doing. It's like, hey, pull back the reins a little bit, let your manager manage. I don't know. I'm hoping. Maybe I'm too wishful on that, because Cashman's always going to just stick his fingers into everything, but because we're seeing it, because Abreu's still here, so is Florial.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, Boone definitely pushed for this, and I also do believe that this whole Volpe conversation and our whole infield alignment has been heavily discussed by everyone in the front office, scouts, all baseball people. So it's not just Brian Cashman this time. It seems to be a lot more of a democracy. And, I'm glad that Aaron Boone won out. He's the manager at the end of the day. He'll know better than anyone what's best for this team. So it was the right call. And I think that the whole thing regarding Peraza is the same thing. It's a whole organization. Certainly the whole organization is behind everyone kind of rotating a little bit. Everyone trying out different spots and things like that to add more flexibility and versatility for the season ahead. So, this is definitely not like a Brian Cashman just kind of making things up anymore. It looks like there's a lot more of an organization behind this, and that's only a good thing as far as I'm concerned. And I agree with Matt Fan. I can't wait for Volpe to be in the leadoff spot. He's going to score 100 runs easy. Yeah, he's going to score 100 runs easy, man. He's going to steal bases, ton of bases, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think he's still going to be fun to watch even in the 9th spot as your secondary leadoff guy. So I think that makes sense for the meantime. But no, I think we have a reason to be positive here. I think it's a great move for the organization. It's a bright new day, because I was very worried that we were going to try it out with IKF again. But we did the right thing, and it looks like things are looking up.
Yeah, I think we're going to see in the next 24 hours, there's going to be, I'd be surprised if there was no movement on the trade market. I think, not even with just the Yankees, I think overall, because a lot of clubs brought up a lot of their were trying out a lot of their prospects, to see where they were at. So I think we're going to see some movement, because teams were hesitant to move anybody until they got a full spring out of them. So I think the next 24 hours, even the first month of the season, I think we're going to see a lot of heavy movement. So even though, with the expanded playoffs, you never know who's going to be in or out of it at this point. But I would just, something's coming, because they got to clear up some of this infield. They have no choice. You can't just have, IKF sitting on the bench. You don't want to mess with Cabrera, leaving him in left field for too long, because you're going to want to put Hicks out there at some point, as much as we don't want to see him. So I'm just glad that they finally did the right thing. They called up this kid that we've been hearing about. Kid earned anything they asked Volpe to do, he did it. And like I said, even after he heard he was already on the team, he was the first guy at the ball club the next day, ready to go, giving it 100%. He was always the first one there, they said. And that shows a lot.
That's what you want, man. That's what you want. You want someone who wants to play, and he earned it. Like we talked about it already 2 weeks ago. He's earned it. There was nothing left he had to prove. He was the definitive winner of that shortstop battle. It started out with 4 guys. It was Volpe, Peraza, IKF, Cabrera, and most thought Volpe was probably the least likely to make the team out of the spring. But then as the weeks went on, you're like, no one else is close to him. Cabrera wasn't even playing short. He was playing third and everywhere else but short. So you're like, he's out of the running. Then they moved IK up to the outfield. You're like, well, he's out of the running. And then Peraza wasn't hitting, and you're like, well, it's Volpe. There was no other answer. Like, he outplayed everybody, and it was pretty quick how, like, the dominoes started to fall. Like, you're like, if they send him down, it's purely for the service time manipulation. But then as we brought up already, Donald brought it up and I brought it up, you're going to get an extra year if he wins Rookie of the Year. So there's a reason to play him from the start. So I think the Yankees realize that. It's like, hey, we can get –
and a draft
they get that extra year. And a draft pick, right. So there's a lot of compensation. So that's why I think you're going to see a lot more teams do that, because it's a different era. It's a different era of baseball where now the game is faster. They're a lot faster. They're putting the commercials out there. They're trying to push these new rules to get more people to know what's going on here. And you're going to see a lot more youth. A lot more of these kids are going to come up sooner than later because they're all used to these rules already. They're used to the pitch clock. They're used to it. I'm not saying they're going to see the veterans get pushed out, but you're going to see these young prospects. Volpe's going to be 22, I think, or 21, whatever. He's young. Dominguez is not too far behind him. Same with Peraza. He's the youngest player that's going to be on the opening day roster since Jeter, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's been a while since we've had a player that young start the season on the opening day roster. So you're going to see a lot more teams doing it because the game is evolving and these players are getting ready for the bigs a lot faster than ever before. Years ago, Volpe probably wouldn't be ready till he was like 24. Now, when you see a kid get to like 21, you're like, hey, he's ready. Soto did it. Harper did it. Trout did it. So I'm glad. I'm just glad they did it, though. And I know we're going to see Peraza sooner than later. He's not too far behind. Dominguez as well could be up by the deadline this year, maybe September. He's not too far behind either.
No, like they pointed out in the chat, with Peraza, he had to have, he had the corrective issue with his eyes. So I think that was halting his offense. So I think that's one of the reasons why this decision was made. And it is the better decision. As much as we wanted to see Volpe and Peraza both make it, giving Peraza a chance to go down, readjust his eye on the ball. I think he'll be up here a lot quicker than we think.
Agreed.
Let's get to this. Let's not ignore Elliot here. Forgive my repeating. What do you think fans are more excited about? Volpe brought up or Judge returning? I'm more excited about Volpe. I'll just speak for myself first to start. I kind of felt like Judge was coming back no matter what, even with the whole arson Judge nonsense that John Heyman did. I thought that we were getting Judge back. I didn't want to think there was a world where he wasn't a Yankee, although there was that point where I was like starting to get very skeptical. I remember texting Don, like, I'm starting to accept that he might not be here. But once he re-signed, I'm like, okay, all is back to normal. I'm excited to see Volpe in his first at-bat because I know what Judge is going to do for us. If he hits a home run his first at-bat, I'll be like, that's my captain. But I'm more excited to see Volpe. That's
Agreed.
just my opinion.
I agree. I'm the same as Rob.
Yeah, I mean, when they brought back Judge, I was like, that's it. They don't need to do anything else this offseason. They did what they were supposed to do, and they brought him back. Then, as you started to see that Volpe was going to be getting a full spring to work out, for me, that excitement just revitalized. But the fact that they actually did not manipulate the call up by saying, well, we're just going to wait until, because they want, manipulate the service time. When they decided not to do that, Volpe, I was more excited about that than Judge coming back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Brad here mentioning Volpe and Cabrera are spark plugs for this lineup. And eventually, Peraza will be there at second base. It's just a matter of not if, it's when. Because they're not moving Torres. We've already talked about this. And you don't really need to move Torres yet. And So I know a lot of people want to. That seems the hot topic, but he is probably like your third best hitter at the moment. You don't want to move him just for the sake of moving him, and you don't have to rush Peraza because it's not like they played him every day last year anyway. That's the one thing people are missing is when they had him up there last year, they didn't play him, and we were all complaining like, "Why aren't you playing him? This is not helping him. You should have just let them in AAA if that's the case." Well, now they're going to let him get reps at second. They mentioned second base specifically and shortstop. They never mentioned third. And that's the right move because they said the middle infield of the future, Volpe and Peraza.
Yep.
We knew the winner of this spring was going to be the shortstop and the other was going to be the second baseman. So now we know it's Volpe at short and we'll see Peraza at second. Just a matter of when, not if.
And I think that's what's keeping the excitement for opening day going. Even with the starting lineup turning into Swiss cheese, at least we have there's something where you could see hope on the horizon. You know that better days are coming, and all those guys that we passed up on, where Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera, Dominguez were the highlights of all these requests for a trade. They didn't make the moves. We wanted to see the payoff, and we're finally seeing the payoff. Okay, we watched Volpe this spring going. Now we know why that. It justifies not making that move. Whatever it may have been at the time. It's and as much as it feeds into Cashman's ego, he's able to say, "See, guys, once in a while, I know what I'm talking about. It's not often, but I got it right this time, so don't forget that."
It's better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is something that I brought up. Like his ego could have been stroked even more if he just had them all get called up. But I understand why Peraza is not there, and I understand why Dominguez is not here yet. I'm willing to wait for those guys to get up. It's just Volpe had to make the team.
Yeah,
Peraza didn't have to make it.
About it.
Yeah, Peraza. As much as I want to see him here, there's just nowhere for him to play right now. There really isn't because Donaldson's at third, and Peraza doesn't play third. Torres and DJ both play second, and Peraza's just going to sit there. So you really can't have Peraza up there right now.
Not yet. You leave him in the ninth spot. I think that's a great spot for him, and let him be your second leadoff hitter. That's really what it's going to come down to. Once you get through, like we said earlier, once you get past that first go about through the lineup, you're going to have pretty much your 9-1-2 or your 1-2-3. You're going to have Volpe, DJ, Judge, and then the other power bats behind them. So I think it's the perfect alignment.
Sorry, like the phone was buzzing. The mother was calling. I had to.
No, just recapping with the lineup, because once you get past the first go about, you're gonna have Volpe, DJ, and Judge as pretty much your 1-2-3 from that point on. So, and then with the other power bats behind them, it creates the perfect storm. So there's no flaws in that. Let him get his feet. Don't thrust him right in. But don't you also believe that if they would have put him in the leadoff spot, he would be just as, he wouldn't fold under the pressure?
No, I don't think he would. I mean, ideally, if I was running the team, he'd be my leadoff hitter, and I'd probably go DJ 5. But I don't understand. I do understand why he's not batting leadoff just yet.
Yeah,
but I think at some point he will be there, and he'll do just fine. I don't think because if the pressure would get to him, he wouldn't have had a good spring. The pressure was on him from the second he got that. From the second Brian Cashman said he's got a chance to make the team, the pressure was on because we've already heard the comparisons to Jeter. They're very unfair, but once they said we're not trading him, like we're not giving him up for Castillo, we're not giving him up for Juan Soto. This kid is the future. The comparisons were there. And it was on. The pressure was on, and he lit it up this spring. So if there's anything, he thrives with pressure, and that's what you want. Now, I know it's just spring training, but he had every excuse to struggle a little bit. And you'd be like, well, he's still very young. He didn't have a lot of playing time in AAA. The pressure was on. It's understandable. But he said, F that. I'm going to show you why I'm the guy. So if he has a slow start, it'd be perfectly understandable because it happens to everybody. And if he comes out lighting it up, he's going to be like, all right, well, now even more pressure to keep that going and continue to be that player from start to finish. There's going to be bumps in the road, but so far it seems to me that he's thriving off the pressure and he just gets better off of it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm so ready for tomorrow. Like I was telling you before we went on, I'm off tomorrow. I took off Friday. I'm making it a long weekend. I'm celebrating that baseball's being back. And we will be celebrating earlier tomorrow because we will be starting the chat will be open live at 9:30. We will be having Lynn and Chris from the upper deck with us tomorrow. The whole family's getting together for this celebration of baseball. So please join us in the morning. We'd appreciate it. Thank you for everybody in the chat. And as always, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And also wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.
Go Yanks.